Welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev.
Good morning. How is life?
Oh, so well, so good. Had wonderful week for Thanksgiving with the family. For Thanksgiving. Spent some time with some new friends for Thanksgiving dinner, which was fun. So yeah, all was well.
Nice.
So, and yours, how are you and how is stuff, life?
Everything was good. It was just the two of us for Thanksgiving. And then the kids came over with the grandbabies and stuff for breakfast on Friday because they already had 2 meals to go to. And my youngest daughter, she's like, well, I could come to the house. We could come in the morning. I'm like, listen, you've already spread yourself thin. You're going to be eating 2 meals that day already as it is, one at 12 and then one at like 4 or something like that. I said, that's a lot.
Right.
I said, no, to me, it's not about, which was a nice thing because it's not about that day. It's not a specific day. It's having appreciation for family and being grateful for family all the time, not just for one day of the year. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because a lot of times when they get together at that time, and my sister had asked, what are you guys going to do? And I said, well, it's just going to be Freeman and I. We're going to eat lasagna, which is quite yummy. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I felt good. I didn't feel over bloated or anything, but it was appreciation day for us. We did stuff around the house and stuff, but and then she's like, yeah, we're not going to do anything either, because she says, really, we celebrate our families all the time. I mean, that's like an everyday occurrence. And, if you look at, we could be negative and talk about really what happened for Thanksgiving. And it's like, that's a lot of slaughter and there's a lot of stuff that happened at that time that I think that we were told incorrectly and in my beliefs, and people can do their research and find out, probably DuckDuckGo, or I don't know if Google will actually have accurate stuff, because they do. There's been a historical modifying of history. So it's just interesting. So to me, it's appreciation and celebration all the time. Which kind of,
yep. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna go off into another direction. So let's leave it right there, and we'll get there.
Okay, it'll come back around.
Yes, it will.
Agree. My son and his girlfriend.
Oh, they're gonna have a daughter now. I hear. No, that's how rumors get started.
Am I putting this out there or what? My son and his girlfriend came to town, and her family's here, and so it was the same thing. Like, they had a Thanksgiving meal with her one grandmother's family side, her dad's side of the family, or her mom's side of the family. No, her dad's side of the family. Then we all met at the friend's house for later that afternoon. And then they had another one that evening with the mom's side of the family. Right. And so 3 gatherings in one day, and they're just going and making sure they're here at a certain time and there at a certain time. And what I have found as I am aging, yes, I am, believe it or not, it's that it's not about the gifts anymore. It's not about the certain holidays. It's like every time. So my son lives 300 plus miles away from me. Is that though? Anyway, 3.5 hours.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And so it's more about, when we do get together, is to have quality time together. And when we were at the friend's house, people are sitting there on their phones, and like, I don't really know any of these people, and could we have a conversation, or could we get to know each other? And it was just interesting. It's interesting, the dynamics now when people come together, instead of having interest in one another. Yeah. quality time to me is really important. And that's one of my that's like my love language is quality time together. So
It really is. It's really like those deep conversations, because we were even talking, we woke up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's like we talked for 2 hours before we went back to sleep about a lot of things. And that was one of the things. It's like you want to be around, and I'm at that point too. I want to have deep conversations. That's where I like my job and stuff. I do. I like what I do because I get these people that come in, and it's usually a deep conversation, and we, just trying to find how to get from massage to beyond that. But it's like I love those kind of conversations. And it's like he reminds me, we're at the grocery store and someone will come up and start dumping all their stuff. Like they just start talking to us. Like
yeah,
they'll start telling us all kinds of things. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm really overthinking this when I consider that stuff, because it happens all the time. It doesn't matter where I am. Even having someone I haven't talked to for a few months, and then it's like, hey, can we talk real quick? I need to run something by you. I want to get your opinion. You always have a higher, outlook on things, or just a different perspective that resonates more with me. And it's like, it's awesome when that happens. And to me, that's not, God, you think about that. I don't know how I will ever end up charging for something like that, because I enjoy it so much. Because I like to be able to hear what they're saying and then process it, just like you do too. What you do, the coaching and stuff. So it goes into the coaching. But it's like so crazy. And it's like before I was telling you, yeah, I listened to Dolores Cannon a couple times. Not, it wasn't for me. I was looking for more of someone that was the medium, the psychic, the everything. But it's like now I'm listening to her again because she's got, I don't know, I'm excited about the stuff she's got to say, because there's so much information, and it's nice now because I am at a place where I can appreciate where she's coming from, because it's more of a scientific, or more asking questions. It's not just a psychic medium, because if I'm a psychic medium, which I believe we all are, the information flows to us, but it's going to go through my perceptions, right? It's going to go through my experiences that I've had, and this is how I'm going to give the messages. And I think there's so much more than that. That's limiting. That's a limited process. And it's like, that's interesting. There's a lot of stuff that's interesting to me as far as that goes. But that's what we've been talking about, follow your passions. And it's like, I don't know what my passions were, because I never listened to them. It was not my practice to listen to them. So now that I'm starting to notice different things. Well, I don't know if I'll do past life experiences or go into the oversoul, and people will have to do their own research and see what resonates with them, because there's just so much information, the collective consciousness, the way she gets information that's so much higher than just doing a past life regression, because she goes deeper than that. So there's so much stuff out there. And it's like you've said before too, and I agree with, there's no way that we're ever going to know everything. It's not possible. It would, in our human minds, in our humanness, there's no way we could process everything, because again, we're like processing life from our experiences, from stuff that we've seen or grown through. And that's why it's so very important for me anyways. And I would encourage anybody to do the same, is to really look outside themselves and really learn some more stuff, like really listen to different things. And I do. I mean, I'm all over the board. I listen to this Marina Jacobi. She channels the Council of Nine. It's like, there's a lot of information that she gets that, when you listen to a lot of these people, you start seeing there's trends, or you see how their information is. There's big ways to find out that there's accuracy behind everything. So there's so much more. And that's why each of us will come here, I feel like, to do certain things, because we're not ever going to know it all. We're not. God, you think about Einstein, or, any of those brilliant minds that are like that have been processing so much information, and how they would learn so much, they would receive these downloads. That's only on one thing. You know what I mean? And of course, to me, energy is everything. It really is. It's everything. I was talking to a person recently when I was getting my hair done, and we were talking about kids, and I'm talking about energy. And it's like, I'm realizing they're not used to people talking like this around them. And then one of them says, well, yeah, my son, he's always talking about energy. I can't do this. I can't be in this energy. And I said, well, that's limiting. There's ways that you can grow beyond all that, which is what I've been learning. So, I mean, and she was like kind of surprised that this is like, oh, so what he's saying, it does make sense. Well, yeah, it does make sense. It makes sense. But then it's like, I brought up I always forget the name of the thing, with the thing that goes back and forth, and it tick, 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 and how you can have one in a room or 20 in a room, and have them all off from each other. And eventually they start going at the same sound. They go exactly at the same tone. You know, they tick at the same time. Everything moves together. And that's what I was explaining to her, how important it is for one of her children to understand that him walking into that space, feeling that he's affected by energy because he doesn't want something to disturb his energy. If he goes higher than where he's at right now, because right now he's limiting himself. It's awesome that he's young and he's recognizing this stuff, because I'm 51, right? So, and I recognize this stuff now, and it's not something I've been doing my whole life. But the other son or the other child will be like, you know, he's like a hurricane, really. His energy is like all over the place. It's crazy. Well, that's why I told her, I said, the one can help balance out the other one. He doesn't realize how much of a gift he is just by being in that space. And he doesn't have to do anything, just maintain that energy. Just like you being at those, you know, you had your family friends that you were at the house and you helped them go through the process of, you know, letting go of their father and letting go of the husband, and you did whatever you could at that time. And it's like, those are the things that are so important for everybody. There's so much value in that. It's like, it gives me goosebumps. It's like, that's the exciting stuff, to be able to be in that space. And how do you find that space all the time? I don't know. Maybe hospice or something. I'm not sure, but it is an awesome space to be able to see the transformation in people. Just like you're saying, even being at that group, you know, how you could see how they disconnect, how they're so separate, how they're so distracted, right? To me, that's no different than heroin or alcohol, because all of it's a distraction. It's a distraction from growing. That, to me, there's such a growth hindrance in that distraction. I know.
Well, I
Just
just-
dance all the way through that.
This is the Bev show today. Go, girl. You go.
I apologize. Not really, but that's where we at right this minute.
No, it was great. It is very interesting how, well, it's the evolution. So, you know, you talk about Einstein and all those brainiacs back then, talking about things that people, it was scary to them because they didn't get it, and the evolution of that. And so, you know, then we move into, I'm just going to throw out Sylvia Browne, who was an icon of psychic and mediumship, of talking to the other side. And then, you know, then others, and she's not the one, but that's the one I resonated with in my beginning. And the evolution of all these other people going, oh, well, if she can talk about it on television, then she's opening up a doorway. Again, it may not have been her, but and then, you know, channeling energy, channeling information from the other side, from spirit, how it's just continuously opening those doors for other people to feel comfortable to basically come out of the closet. Because I know when we were younger, that wasn't talked about. At least in my experience, we didn't talk about it. Not when I was young. As I was an adult, then more people were talking about it. Okay, well, that wasn't until the 90s. Right. And so now what was interesting to me was, not too long ago, I was reading something, it's the book I'm reading now, and he talks about how he's right. Well, I can't really say yet because it's an advanced reader copy, and so I'm reading the book before it's actually out to the public. And anyway, he's talking about how he was part of a group of people who was invited to be in the presence of a Christian psychic medium. I was like, well, isn't that interesting? Right? I've never heard it referred to that. Like, I didn't know. Okay, we have a Christian psychic medium. And it felt good to know that people are more open and aware of these other people who have these abilities, even though, like you said, we all have the ability to communicate and to receive information from the universe, from God, the angels, our deceased loved ones, you know, all of it. And but to label it, it was more acceptable if I say it's a Christian psychic medium. She's a psychic medium. You are, I am, everybody has that ability, but and then to add that other label for it to be it's not that he was writing it in that way, but that's how it was presented to him. And so he presented it in his book this way. And so look, whatever resonates. I'm not saying it's good, it's bad. I'm just saying whatever resonates, whatever helps you feel more receptive to the fact that we have these abilities. And there are just, the difference is that some people are just more tuned in than others. Einstein, I mean, he's way more tuned in than me, but I have the ability to be a genius if I wanted to.
Yes.
Right? But I don't choose to. I took trigonometry in high school and I thought, what the hell am I doing? Am I ever going to use this? The answer so far is no. So now having our kids talk about energy, I'm listening to Ed Milet interviewing Barbara, I don't remember her last name, but she's on Shark Tank, and she's saying, you know, when it comes to these people presenting on Shark Tank, I listen to my gut feeling. Right? We've been saying that for years. I heard that when I was little, my gut feeling, a mother's intuition. I've been hearing that for a very long time. But to declare psychic medium or psychic or media, it's like, it's now people are popping up everywhere. You go on YouTube and there's hundreds, if not thousands of people on there. I've been on TikTok and about every 3 or 4 things I come across, there's people on there doing tarot or pendulums or just doing the mediumship. So it's just very, very, I want to say it's exciting that we have more people who are being receptive to it and open to those who are tuned in more and utilizing that information for the benefit of their journey. And that more people are saying, this is what I do. I am a psychic or I am a medium. Okay, so declaring it, and the more we are examples of it, more people, and teaching it, because as being an example of it is one thing, but when you're teaching it, encouraging others to step into that knowledge that they have access to, right? And that their life could be so much more enjoyable and fun and easier when they're tuned into that higher self or divine guidance. I just really think it's so exciting to know that we're expanding in that way, and our kids are recognizing that and being more boisterous about it.
Because they're going to be heard, right?
Yeah, they're going to be heard because we grew up not being heard.
Yeah.
And we're teaching our kids to listen. If something's going on, tell me. Because
Yes.
Mama Bear is going to be there, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Whereas in our day, it was not acceptable, or children aren't supposed to be heard, or not like for me, for example, I didn't believe that if I said anything about what was happening to me, that that I would be believed. Like it wouldn't, nobody would have believed me.
Yeah.
Or been
So-
brushed under the carpet, so to speak, right? Well,
Yeah.
hush, hush, we don't talk about that.
Exactly.
So that's what the era we grew up in. And many women, especially women, I'm not saying men didn't experience either, but many, many, many women on this planet, our age, experienced some kind of trauma in our life. So as we became adults and had children, we instilled in our kids, like, this isn't acceptable. You I am open for you to come to me with anything. Tell me anything that's going on. Let me be there to help you. Right. So we believed in our children being safe. That's not saying that our parents didn't believe that we needed to be safe. They didn't know how to handle it because of their uprise. Now we're into the generational thing. It's based on generational flow. And then we got to a point where we're like, oh, to the hell, no, this is not acceptable. We're not going to play this game again. And if you touch my child, Mama Bear's coming out.
That's right.
Right. So now our kids are hearing us at our ages talking about energy. Social media it's everywhere. And they're understanding it more than we did at their age because everybody's talking about it now. Not everybody, that's not a true statement, but a lot of people on this planet are talking about it now, right?
It's true. Now there is such a great flow where it's such a, like you talk about all that stuff. And to me, it's just such a blessing to be in this time that we're in, because the fear of being different is like, it's just fallen away.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's a big thing, because even like when our parents, or gosh, my mom got pregnant with me when she was 16, and that was a no-no. So she had to drop out of school, or, she didn't get to do the things that she wanted to do, or didn't continue. So like so much stuff, because that was unheard of. And now it's like, that's just part of life. The schools kind of work with you. There's other ways of doing it. You could homeschool. Like there's just so many different things that are now a possibility. And it's like you like we said, you're being heard. Most people are being heard now. And it's nice because we can look out and see all this stuff it's just right there. Like the internet's amazing. The internet's amazing. We have that information within inside of us, but sometimes we're so outside of us, because most of us learn that way until we start becoming so connected to self, our higher self, our oversoul, or whatever you want to call it. When you become so much more connected to all that stuff, you just see things differently. You understand the flow is differently. Like you're talking about the families and stuff doing stuff. And that was one of the big conversations that we had last night. It's like, there's so much evolution that happens by just us working through our own stuff, honestly. And it's not to be in for me, it's like recognizing not to be in the space of like, you're doing this to me, or you're making me feel this way, or why are you doing that, or whatever. And it's being like, this is my story. Like, this is the story I'm telling myself right now, but so you're talking to the person, because otherwise it feels like you're attacking the other person when you have these conversations. So if in all honesty, it's the story I've been telling myself. And I've noticed more when I start to go through issues, or something needs to, I say go through issues, but when stuff comes to the surface, because it's time for me to let go of it, I have an opportunity. I take that opportunity, but I can handle things a little bit differently. And I notice the more neutral we are with those things, the easier it is for it to just, that's it. That's the end of that story. That story is over now. And, listen to that Marina Jacobi, and she's talking about, like, in this time and space that we're in right now, where we're creating our new world, basically. It is very important for us to be neutral. It's very important for us to not send hate or anger or everything else. Not saying that you don't stand in your power, not saying that if you have to defend yourself, you know what I mean? It's not saying any of that stuff, but it's not giving energy to another person because you don't like the person that's in power right now, or you don't like, it's whatever it is, whatever is going on. Because to me, all the stuff that's going on right now, from my higher perspective, is just to distract us from what's really going on, and trying to keep us in a space of anger and worry, and we don't know what the future holds. Well, guess what? We don't know what the future holds.
We never did.
No. And even if you go get a past life regression and they find you into your future self, we can rewrite things. We change, everything that we do makes a change, every single thing. So it's like, everything's not written in stone. It's just not. But it was nice because she's talking about being neutral, and we've talked about that. And when I receive information, I'm neutral. Now I will tell you, so get back to the psychic medium. Yeah, we all have that natural ability. Most of us aren't in that space of being neutral. So it's asking, for me, it was an asking to get into that space of being neutral. So I didn't have an attachment to an outcome. So I didn't have an attachment to a person's situation or whatever they were experiencing, excuse me, at that time, whatever that was. So it was not having an attachment. And it's like, then I get answers because I can ask myself, I can ask within inside myself, and I always receive the answers. But if I'm angry, if I'm depressed, if I'm sad, like I'm not, no matter, I could ask the question a million freaking times and I'm not getting an answer, or it's kind of iffy that's coming forward. It's not a pure answer. So it's interesting that, because that's the way we really just came here to experience, and we have such an opportunity to be in a space of joy, honestly. And we get so distracted by this, getting stuck in a hurt, that happened one time, that we relive it over and over and over again. And it's not necessary. And then recognizing, for me, I'm recognizing so much stuff that was carried over from my mom, that I received from my mom. I'm not saying that I didn't receive it from my dad, but he wasn't really in the picture. So I have no idea how much I received. So it's like, then my kids receive, Bev's stuff and whoever else's stuff, not mom's stuff, not whatever else they experienced wherever I was at that time when they came into me. When they decided to come in at that time, now they've got all my stuff and whatever experiences I'm going through, and then their father's stuff, no matter how long they were in their life. So it's like we have such a confusion, but it's like, if we slow down enough, which I'm noticing so much stuff, it all goes back to before us. We're just it's just like we talked about last week, my mom, having the experiences that she had, losing her sister, they ran out of gas, witnessing accidents, all these other things. I've had such a fear my whole life, even when I was a child, of, being in a car and it going to fall off the road or whatever, all these things, that it's trickled all the way down to my grandson. Like, that has carried on. That's something that we've carried on energetically from one person to the next. And it's not even necessary. It's not even true. But to me, that's another way that we've learned how to suppress ourselves. And when we suppress ourselves, we don't allow ourselves to step fully into our power meaning into our intuition, into our, what's my passion, into my, like flourishing in life. Because when we're flourishing, everybody around us is flourishing. People from everywhere come to see you for whatever it is, because they need your service, because you help them get to the next place. Just like we have people to help us get to the next place.
And people are energetically attracted to you. So Bev and I both, she's right now is a massage therapist and she coaches, but massage therapy is her identity. I'm a emotional resiliency coach. That's my identity, right? Those are the identities that we hold, but we're both coaching. She's coaching her clients. I'm not doing massage, but we're both coaching. And if Bev said, you know what, I'm not doing massage anymore, I'm taking on being a life coach and yada, yada, you know what, I'm going to support her in that. I'm going to promote her. I'm going to talk about her, because there is enough for everybody on this. There's almost 8 billion people on this planet. There is enough for everybody. And people are going to be attracted to her for her energy. People will be attracted to me for my energy. And so there's a mentor group, 2 mentor groups or mastermind groups I'm associated to, where there are a lot of coaches in there. And when they write a book or they're promoting a class, I'm like sharing it and raising up, supporting my sisters. And I say sisters because I'm mainly associated with women, which is funny because most of my life I wanted to be in the group with the men, right? Or the boys. But I'm raising them up because there is enough for everybody. There is. And if I have say a colleague who is having a class and I'm like, well, I'm not promoting their class because I'm going to have that class and I want people to come to my class. And right now I'm getting into that energy of a lack mentality that I'm not going to be successful and being, selfish. So if it's an energy, it's all energy that if I am in a loving space promoting my sisters with what their businesses are and their classes, their coaching skills, And some of them, I mean, a lot of them offer things that I don't offer. So of course I'm gonna be like, well, go to this person because they do this and this is so cool, right? And it doesn't take away from me, because I know if I am in the space that I know that the universe has my back, that there's enough for everyone, that money is energy, and we are vibrationally, energetically attracted to one another, there's enough. There's enough for everyone. And so it'd be like somebody calling Bev and saying, hey, can you get me in for a massage in a week? And she's like, well, no, but here's 3 names, 3 other massage therapists that you can choose from, and call them and see if any of them are available. She's not just saying no. An end of story. She's like, no, but you know what? Here's these other massage therapists in town who might be able to help you. This is support. This is, I just come back to raising each other up. And it's, I feel for our energy, the way it's part of our true essence of our spirit is to raise each other up. That is coming from a space of love. Where if I don't share, then I'm coming from a space of fear.
And that's limiting, right?
Very
You
limiting.
know how it feels. And that's when we talk about really paying attention to things, because there's always enough. Gosh, I've just heard so much. If you want to listen to lack, you can find all kinds of people talking about lack all around you, really all around you. But if you want to see that there's such an abundance, there is such an abundance. It's really how you want to see things. It just really is. And then it's being in that space of being neutral about what's going on, because there's always such a bigger picture. There's always growth that comes from it. Even when someone passes away or leaves the physical being, their physical body, they're still always with us, but there's such a huge amount of growth that comes from that. And it's sometimes we get so tied up in the way that they left that we miss out on so much more. You know what I mean? I think eventually we probably all get there. Well, you're going to get there, because you're going to get there whether you're in your physical being or not. But it's like there's so much to be had while you're here. And it's like, well, we talked about a lot of things. We talk about, because that's your personal hell. If you live in that space, always, holding on to something or holding on to the way someone passed, you're really missing out on how much joy you had with that person when they were in physical being or not. You just miss out on that connection. You miss out on living and enjoying a life while you're here. To me, it's like, it's not worth being miserable. It's not. Even though it feels like sometimes that's the way you're supposed to be. You're like, someone passes, I'm supposed to be sad. Well, that keeps me, like I go back to the whole thing. That keeps me from being neutral. If I'm not neutral, then I'm not receiving we get such amazing messages all the time. So it's like even the girls, talking about, they receive messages from their dad all the time. And it's like, they don't realize that more that we talk about all those people, those fun times, all the good stuff, they love it. Right. And we love it too, but because it feels good, right? We go back to that whole feeling, the way it feels. You just know. It's really simple. It's really easy to navigate through things when you start looking at that. If your thoughts keep going to crap thoughts, and I say crap thoughts because sometimes I do have some crap thoughts. And if I want to let it run like that and stay on that little merry-go-round, then it's like, I'm going to keep going through it and keep feeling it. And it just feels crappy. But it's like, once I recognize, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. I'm just tired of feeling like this. And that's good. Because what comes next is there's going to be relief. It's in so many different levels to get you to that joyful place, but you get there. And it's just for me, I feel like it's a blessing. The more that I have an awareness of the stuff that I've been doing this whole time, it is so freeing. It is so freeing.
What's an example of that?
So just feeling, just if I am in a place where I'm just missing Jim, if I'm just missing him and I'm going through a sad place and I'm just sad all the time, and everywhere I go, I see something that reminds me that he's not here. I see someone that says, oh gosh, we've just celebrated 50 years, or we just things like that, that could send me into a place if, and I recognize when that doesn't feel good. I start recognizing, gosh, maybe I needed a good cry. Maybe there was something that needed to come to the surface. So I don't beat myself up when this stuff comes up. But then at some point I'm like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. Like I've told Jim several times, I'm like, man, I miss you. You're wonderful. We learned a lot and we're still learning a lot. But it's like I can't live in this space anymore. I can't live holding on to a relationship that's not here anymore, not in the physical. It's still here because the more that I grow, that relationship grows. It really does. So that's kind of my experience. That's kind of one of them. I mean, there's so many things that happen like that all the time.
And just so the audience knows, you came up on a year just this past week of his transition date. So that first year, and the anniversary of his transition. And I like what you said, that, you can't, or you don't desire to hang on to a relationship that no longer is. And I think listening to, people who have had somebody transition, it's well, we were gonna travel all over when we retire, or we had all these toys and we were gonna enjoy them and enjoy our retire, right? That's a lot of what I hear from the older crowd, that well, we were gonna do it, and they hang on to all that and stay in the sorrow that they're not going to have those experiences with that one person. Well, you probably have a whole tribe of people to have those experiences with. And yes, it's going to be a little different, but you're not allowing yourself to enjoy the moment with these other people because you're hanging on to the loss of the one person. And in retrospect, like you said, they're still here with us. So it's go enjoy it, go play, go travel, go play with the toys. When I say like boats and quads and motorcycle, whatever that is, that go do that because they're still with us, enjoying it as well, being in the spirit of it as well, of the joy, the fun, the playfulness, the quality time with those friends and family, the love, they're still a part of all of that.
They really are. I mean, I really totally believe that. And I feel like it's limiting. If I can sit and say, oh gosh, I could have done this, or I should have done this. But the thing is, if I'm in another relationship, I can be doing all those things because I'm still healing that part of me that was not able to wasn't able to step into that power, wasn't able to love the way that I love. That's the one thing that's been so different about me now is I've learned how I've been given, that sounds like I was given something. There has been no pressure put on me to be any certain way, to have any expectations for me to do anything at all. So it's given me the time to really start finding ways to love myself, to appreciate myself. And the more that I've done that, the more that I can love so much more. And I'm kind of past that. We've talked about it. I've been kind of where I was really beating myself up. I mean, there were some days I just didn't want to be here. And, it's just like it was because I was beating myself up because I just felt like I was such a horrible person for decisions that I made. And it's like, but because I didn't remember, being in that space anymore. Now I've grown and I could look back, but now I'm at a space now where I don't look back at that anymore. I do feel more neutral about a lot of these feelings and emotions because it's not a bad thing. I had a client come to me. She's like, I don't know if it's because I'm going through hormones, but I don't seem to have, like, I don't cry like I would have done before. And it's like, I don't think it's a matter of that. I think it's a matter because we start learning to see things from a more neutral space that we don't hold an attachment to it. And it's like a natural progression. It just feels weird. And we think that there's something wrong with us because we're doing this. But the truth is this is where we really thrive. Being in this neutral place allows us to be able to grow. There's no restrictions. It's very confining and very restrictive, very limiting to be in that space of constantly missing somebody all the time, or constantly beating ourselves up all the time by things that we could have done or should, things that we could have or should have done. When you could do all those things and it may never have changed anything at that point, because really it was about my growth all along. And we've talked before, we can't make somebody else grow. We can be there, we can plant seeds for them, but that's all we can do. We cannot make them grow. It is totally up to them, and it's very limiting when we think that that I was like this God that could have had so much control over this whole relationship. No, that's not even true. But what did I learn from all this? I've learned how to love more. I've learned how to see myself. I didn't even think about, what do you mean love yourself? Like that was just the most preposterous thing I've ever heard in my life. Like seriously, stupid people. Like how they talk like this. But
Who
that's how
write
it felt.
books about that?
Yeah, I don't need, but these people don't know what they're talking about. They're stupid. Like, I don't know. That's just where I was at. And that's okay. That's okay because that's where I was at. But it's like I've grown so much. So much. And it's like we all are. And it's like be in a place of celebration and then reminding people, like to me, it's very important to appreciate ourselves, even when the stuff comes up. Even if I react to something, who cares? Guess what? Oh, that's something that just came to the surface. I don't have to hold on to this shit anymore. We have to have circumstances and situations. My nose is itchy. We have to have circumstances and situations that help promote or bring that stuff to the surface so we can let go of it. We don't know that we have triggers. We don't know, like I don't remember a lot of my childhood. So unless something happens now that's similar to that situation, it doesn't come to the surface. So now there's things that might come up, and that's a scary thing. Self-sabotage is like huge. I will tell you, we all do it. I really do feel like we've all done it at some point in our lives. And I've done it so many times. It's like when things start getting too good, it's too good, too good. Oh shit. The rug could be pulled out from under you. And it's like, oh, you want to stop living real quick. But it's like, you can't. But when I get into that space, I just like let myself know, you're all right. We're okay. Everything's always been working out for me anyways. It's like, it's going to be fine. And if you don't think it has been working out for you, then how did I get to 51? Like seriously.
Right.
In the physical body. Yeah. In this world, honestly. So it's pretty freaking amazing.
Well, even thinking about the older generations, everything they went through.
Oh yeah.
And they're still here. And it's like, that's pretty incredible. So when you talk about being neutral, I just wanted to make the audience aware that Bev's not saying you're not going to experience emotion or anything, that you're still going to experience emotion. And that emotion allows stuff to surface. So when I talk about the low vibrational emotions, shame, guilt, criticism, judgments, anger, fear, like when you experience that, it's just an awareness that something is happening that is bringing to the surface, something outside of you is happening to allow a story from inside to surface so you can look at it and heal it. I call it being triggered. There's something in me being triggered, and this is why I'm angry. There's something in me is being triggered, and this is why I'm feeling the shame and the guilt. And it would be an experience that would be happening now. So when that happens, it's an opportunity for these stories to surface because we've stuffed them down for so long. It surfaces so we can look at them from a different perspective, without the blinders on, with different beliefs, with different with new information and knowledge, so that we can heal that. And the more that happens, I find it true for me, the easier it gets. Like I'll have a moment of anger instead of a 3-day anger spree, a moment of anger, and go, whoa, okay, I just got triggered. What is surfacing? And how can I see this differently? How can I change this story that I have that I'm still telling myself? And so then it's allowing me when I pull back, I'm not pulling back from the emotion, I'm pulling back from the experience, kind of like instead of being in the box, in the middle of the situation, I'm coming out of the box, looking from an outside perspective to go, okay, this is happening and I'm getting triggered. So what is it about this that's triggering me? And what is it in me that I desire to heal? So this does not necessarily doesn't happen again, but at least I know I've healed that piece, or changed the story. And then when correct me if I'm wrong in this, in how I'm explaining this, then you get to, so this is more of that would be more of a neutral space that I can separate from the situation and look at it from outside viewpoint, so I can heal what was going on within myself. So that's what she's mean about being neutral. Was that a good explanation?
It really was. And also being neutral is seeing it from a different, from a higher perspective. You really step out of it. The blinders aren't on as much, and you really see the way the interaction was on both sides. You really see how everything was, and then you see more. Like, really, what was that to gain? What was I to gain from that? And a lot of times it was just like, if you have an interaction now and you might flip someone off, on the road or whatever, but it's like, what was my reaction? We would be at stop signs. One of the good things, we'd be at stop signs and Jim would be driving and he'd get so pissed off. And I would do the same thing too, but he would get so pissed off when he tried to let somebody go and they weren't paying attention. Well, fuck, then I'm going to go. I'll just go. You know what I mean?
Like,
It's just being in that process, that whole place. And it's like, to see it from a higher perspective, it's like, you don't know where they were at. It's just giving the other person that space, because you don't know where they're at. You don't know what they were processing. You don't know what they were thinking. They may not have seen you. Maybe they couldn't even, maybe there was a glare on your windshield or something. You just don't know, right? You just don't know. There's so many reasons of why things happen. And it's just stepping back. It's not because you did anything wrong. It's like, well, I tried. It's not anything, but when you're in that neutral space, you just kind of step back and you're like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and go. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's so easy to put so much pressure on someone else that they're the ones that are affecting your change and everything like that. But really, it's everything that showed up in your experience was for your experience. It was for your growth. It was for you to let go of maybe not stuff, this being in a neutral place. Now I've taken an extra place, but it's maybe not, it's healing your ancestors. It's healing everybody. It's stopping a pattern right now. We are stopping patterns all the time. Like, really, that every time we evolve, we ascend, we rise higher, whatever you want to look at it, every single time it changes everything. It changes everything by proxy, right? So everybody gets to receive that change, because you just received that change. You gave yourself that time. But we can only get there by being in that neutral space that you're talking about. Because if I'm anger or holding an attachment to an emotion, or, well, he did this and she did this, and then then it limits you and you don't get to rise above it. But being, like you just said, your description of being in a neutral space was awesome, because it really is. You're really in this place of, it's just, you just see things. It's almost like watching a movie sometimes. And you just kind of pick out, I've watched some really good movies, and it's like you pick out, like, wow, this is what I learned from that movie. Well, that's what you're learning from this movie, this life that you're playing in.
that's what it is. This is our movie, right? Our
It
life,
is.
our movie.
It is.
So if you don't like the script, change it.
Exactly. That's the same thing I heard again just yesterday. I was listening to somebody. So it's like the same thing. You don't like it. This is your space. Don't sit back and hide things out and think things are going to get better that way. What do you want to create? This is your world. Like, what do you want to create? And I can't get there. If I'm in an angry place, I'd be like, I'm going to create death and destruction and blah, I'm going to control it all. Well, then I'm no different from the other person that's trying to control, wants to be in that space of control. But if I'm in a neutral place, getting into the place where I don't have an emotion towards it, because emotions do arise, but then we kind of, when we're slowing down, we kind of decipher what those emotions were about. And then if you can see it from the space where they're without that emotion, but more of an excitement, which excitement's still an emotion, but it's a different emotion. Then, getting excited, creating something, just like you said, you're listening to TikTok, or you're noticing that there's so many people that are evolving, and they're so not afraid to step in their power. They're so not afraid to talk about their experiences, whether they shaved half their head, or they wear every freaking crazy color you can think of. Cause I would totally, I mean, stand by into the future. I'll probably be like running around with colors on, like, crazy all the time. More than I do now. But that's just part of our growth. And why? Because it feels good. And there's no limits on that. And that's what we're all seeing right now. To be in that space, to be so limitless and to be more neutral. And that's neutral is kind of a weird thing to say, I guess, huh? Because we still have excitement, joy, love, like all those things they're emotions. There's something that we feel, but it feels better. It feels good.
Right. And that's what we talk about is we are feeling beings. We are emotional beings. We are meant to feel.
Yeah, we're antennas.
Right. And it's not that we're telling you to forever not be angry or forever not be judgmental or anything like that, and forever not to feel shame or guilt or be critical. It's recognize when you do it and notice your vibration, notice your energy. Because I know for me, when I get in those spaces, my energy is low. I'm fatigued. I'm short in speaking to people. Like my physical way of being is different. My mental state is different, right? It's a different way of being. And I was in that space for so long that it's very easy to recognize. And so when I am experiencing those lower vibrational emotions, I recognize it very quickly. And I know for me, it doesn't feel good. And that's not a space I want to be in, again, because I was there for so long. And now that I have experienced a lighter sense of myself emotionally, I want to be in that space more. However, I still have the stories in me. We still have our childhood, our teens, our young adult, right? We still have all these years, all these stories within us. And I heard it through another teacher that said, we cannot, it's probably Abraham Hicks, we can't heal all our stories at one time. Again, that would be so overwhelming. That we heal our stories when our spirit knows it's time. When it's time, it will surface, and that's when you take. So yeah, I might live another 30, 40, 50 years. I'm probably for a lot of those years, I'm still going to have things that surface. But I'm at a space now that if it's easier now, what's it going to be like in 30, 40, 50 years? I'll be like, yeah, we don't need this anymore, right? Where now I got to process everything. And so just recognizing that when you step on a healing journey, a mindset change, a new way of being, whatever terminology you want to use, your spiritual journey, your spiritual awakening, that it's continuous. This is a daily, moment by moment practice. And I just say this all the time. The goal is to be and do better than I was in each moment. I'm choosing to be and do better. And so that's what I ask of all my students, all my clients. The whole idea is just to be and do better. And that takes practice. So it's okay. It's like giving yourself permission that it's okay with where you're at, how you're feeling, and what can you do to feel and do better, to be and do better. What can you do in this moment? That's it.
It's true. It really is. It's really just taking that time for yourself. And it's like and recognize we're healing our whole freaking family. We really are. So it's a lot of it's not even our stuff. And it's recognizing that too. And you kind of know, I mean, really, I don't know. It's like lately I would just say, I kind of know, because again, I would say that I'm at that point, I am in that neutral space where I can look at things and be like, you know, not that my mom didn't do this and she didn't, you know, I wasn't a victim. You're not, because you're not from a victim space at all. When you're in that space, when you're neutral, you're just seeing things like, oh, well, she had these things happen to her. These were her beliefs. It's not this something that was done to me. It was something that it's been experienced, you know, for lifetimes, you know, for many of my family in so many different ways. And maybe sometimes it wasn't always family, but it's like it's just a great healing. So it's being easy on yourself. And I just don't spend time. I would even get pretty upset with myself when some of this stuff would show up. I'm like, "Fuck, why is this showing up again? Like, I thought I dealt with this shit already. Like,
Right,
I am done.
right.
Seriously."
You're like, really? Still?
And now I'm like, yeah, yeah. And now I'm like, okay. So I still had pieces, right? It's like they talk about peeling back the layer of an onion. I had pieces still that were still that I wasn't able to let go of then, because we gain new tools, right? And it's like, once we gain new tools, I gain a new perspective and I can see things from a neutral place or a higher space. You're able to handle it differently. But if you've got an attachment to it and something like that happens, it freaking can really hurt. It can really hinder you. It can really stop your growth. So we receive everything like we can. That, what do they say? Someone said that grieving is such a patient, you know, it's grieving is patient. You know, it really is. It comes up when we can let go of it. It'll show itself. That's why people always talk about when someone has left their physical being, how they'll miss them and they'll, like, I was good for a whole year, you know, and I've been good. I've been appreciative. I haven't been, I've been in a different space altogether. I really have, which has been awesome. But it's like, it's been like a year and a half and all of a sudden, bam, something hits you. It's because at that time you're able to process and handle that information that's coming forward so you can let go of it. So you don't no longer have to carry on to it or carry it. And I feel like it happens, like we've talked about, it happens as fast as you allow it, right? It really does. And it's like, as much as we grow, I feel like the more I grow and the more I expand, that I'm able to handle so much more information that comes in. That's when I'm able to. I wasn't able to handle that a year ago. If I would have known that some of the stuff was going to happen even 5 years ago, I don't know that it would, you know, we say that we want to know the future, but I don't know how much it would have made a difference from the person that I was at that time. If I had that knowledge now, I would totally have appreciated every single moment, you know, of every day going forward. At that time, I was not in the place of appreciation. I
Right.
wasn't. So it's like just being patient with ourselves, man. We're doing the best that we can. We say that all the time. We are doing the best we can. And it doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't, because there's so many people that are like way past us. They could listen to us and be like, yeah, been there, done that, you know. But it's like, because they've had that in their experience, but this is where I'm at right now. And that's okay.
Yep. And those that are, I'm just gonna say more advanced than you, they're just way showers. They're lighthouses. They're
Yes,
paving the way. And it doesn't mean
yes.
their way is the only way. They're just saying
Yeah,
there's more. There's
their
more to this.
possibility. Yeah, their
More
possibility.
possibilities.
They show us so much more. There's so much more to
Right.
us. It's
So
awesome.
where you're at, it's okay. Just look ahead on your path to see who's ahead of you and let them light the path for you. And you're going to create your own. Like I've taken, so with all those books that I read that were pretty much saying the same thing, just through their own stories, I also learned bits and pieces from each one and then compiled it to fit me.
Yes.
I wasn't just this person's word is gospel and this is the way you have to do it. And no, I took pieces from all of them and said, this is my way. And this is the way I'm going to teach and share. And so, and I had a psychic medium tell me that. She's like, you're going to take all this, just what I said, you're going to take all this information that you've learned, you're going to make your own way. And I said, okay. I didn't believe her at the time because I wasn't in my confidence or I didn't even believe I was going to be a teacher or anything like that. But she said, you're going to make your own way. You're going to make your path and you're going to do great things. And so I was like, okay, you know, again, didn't really believe her, but I was like, okay, which is true. I've taken a lot of stuff and just made it my own in my own way. And still going back to raising up my brothers and sisters, I got this piece from this person. I got this piece from this book, right? I'm talking about books and teachers all the time. And so, yeah, so just put your head up so you can see instead of down, and just seeing where you're at, because there's so much more.
Yes, there is.
All right. Well, there you have
Awesome.
it.
There you have it.
There you have it. That's our words of wisdom this week.
That's right.
Yes. So thank you for your time and energy, for being in the space with us, whether you're live with us, or watching or listening to the replay. We are on other platforms. So we are in Facebook, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Podcast Addict, and YouTube. And so you can find us there if you want to connect with us through email. It's amyandbev@gmail.com. And if you feel like any of this information is beneficial and you know other people who would resonate with it, then please share it with them. Let us be their lighthouse and way showers for now. Doesn't mean we're the be all do all, but we're lighting a path.
That's right. Keep on growing.
Keep on keeping on.
That's right.
All right, my friends, thank you so much. Have make it an amazing week, and we'll be back next week.